Been running now. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for May 19th, 2021. Got about 30 seconds here until the market close. So we're going to see the market close here. Q's making it back to unchanged after the gap down this morning, and SPY just down 0.27, almost down 1/4% there. So we came into today with a neutral bias. We were anticipating staying neutral until this range was resolved, and you can see here we can extend this now to include today's price action, and so that's gonna stay neutral going into tomorrow because we're now back to the middle of the range here. So it was a gap down to support. And, I told the room this morning the same thing. I wasn't that sure that we would bounce. Okay. Not like how we were pretty likely to bounce last time we got the gap down in here, right? Because we were like pretty extended. And then we already rolled over and then got the gap down. I think during that time the Qs were even more clearly extended, multiple bars down, right? We'd already gotten the move lower, base breakdown, and another move lower. So here, I thought it was a little bit more predictable, the bounce, right? This one that we got today, today's gap down, I didn't really expect it to, although if anyone told me, well, it was a gap down to support, I thought it was, more likely to bounce, or I expected to bounce, then I could see that too. I think that is definitely a case to be made. But I didn't think we were like nearly as extended and as much of a move leading into the gap. Like wasn't as novice looking on the hourly here, this gap, as it was back here. So here, that was pretty clear. If we gap down, we're probably gonna get bought here. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe the gap down does get break support. You can see we did get bought and moved up. So that range that we've set here over the past week, still the range that we're stuck in. We're in the middle of it now. So still going to be neutral going into tomorrow. Okay, so support held. We'll see what the reaction to resistance is. If we base at it or run up through it and then do a pullback, those will be our opportunities to be bullish. Okay, so that's the plan with the market for tomorrow. Okay. Let's go over today's play. So today, let's go over the gaps because I had 3 that were favorites to be played at the open, and then only one of them ended up being played because only really one of them set up. So I mentioned yesterday that earnings season is winding down, going to start to like lower the aggressiveness, focus more on higher quality plays, and then also really kind of reducing the activity. Okay, so we'll just want to go through the process this morning of selecting the plays here. Okay, so we'll start with the gaps here because that's where it starts. The VIPs, you're gapping down. It's a little bit extended from the 20 MA, but we're clearing some support there that it put in recently, and then the weekly is starting to break down. Now this alert here that you're seeing is just because I'd like to watch it for tomorrow. Today was setting up initially in the morning to be played under low of the day, but then it resolved higher instead. Okay, so it ended up being no play. So you can see here opening range is there, even though like 1 minute was very nice looking for a base breakdown here, but it moved higher instead. So no play, stayed kind of strong there, and then eventually kind of weakened again. So because I like this gap and today it produced a pretty narrow bar, I'm going to be watching it for tomorrow. If I can, under 21, yeah, it just needs to set up. If it can clear yesterday's low, that would be better. But them just putting this here is just a reminder for tomorrow in case, I'm too focused on the gaps, just as a reminder to look at it. Okay, so I think it's pretty interesting to, as a carryover into tomorrow, to look to see if there's weakness and an entry to be played. So VIPs, like the gap, but no play because the intraday never set up. For me, there are some, like here, I think someone mentioned that worked in the afternoon here. There was a little bit of follow through, but for me, it didn't ever really set up. Low, I also liked. low, we had a gap down. Now, it's a little bit lacking in shock value because the move has already started. But what I liked was we're doing like a breakout failure here, and then we have kind of room until we get to weekly support and the weekly 20 MA. So I wanted to see if we get some more follow through in the kind of the loss of this daily uptrend and kind of transition lower. Same story here on the low as the VIPs. We never set up a base, and then we popped hard, and then we rallied back up to the top. Okay, so you can see here, there's no entry really. As a high-low, very, very aggressive, and it's a really big stop here. Right, so then this you could say we triggered and then went up, but I thought it wasn't really much of a pattern there. Okay, and then moved back up. Iova, okay, ended up setting up a lot better. James had a very nice call on this right at the open. I missed it, so I had to kind of sneak in afterwards on the next entry. Okay, so here was James's play. So you get the big topping tail, resting bar, and then underneath there, his stop was at the top there. Okay, on the Iova. I missed that one, so then once it set up this little bit of a base, I just put all of this together. Because this you could play as a 1-2-3, which I think as a 1-2-3, it holds just fine. I just wasn't sure on a pullback I was going to be able to survive. And then you can see here the 1 minute sell setup, because I was already kind of undersized, because I was using the kind of this like just like a base that was incorporating a lot of bars, but the bars weren't that sideways. Then I did the add there on the 1 minute sell setup. Okay. So this you can see set up much more nicely, much tighter bars, cleaner trading than what we saw from the VIPs and the LOW at the open, right? You see the Iova, much more controlled, much more tighter bars, manageable stops. It did pop from time to time. This did have spread from time to time, which the VIPs and the low did, but just a lot just actually set up, actually had entry patterns. The IOVA, really nice call from James. He was stuck with it, really, the runner until, it went climactic here. I was already out of it, unfortunately, before it did this. So this, at this point, because of how tight the stop was, the runner had already reached kind of the final target. So here, it was already around, that was around 5 Rs for the runner piece. So would have been great to have been in this, but I completely missed out on that aspect of it. I mean, look at this thing. It's just yeah, this is what you want to be in. And look at this hourly bar by bar. I mean, I think James was in it from 24, or right as it broke 24. If you were in this all day, what a move. I think it was like a 70-cent stop. So really, really nice call from James. And as you saw, from the favorites, that was the only one that set up. Really nice call, focusing on the one that set up the best, but also then following through the best. Gap was really good too, right? Nice base there and breaking underneath the base. So just really a nice home run there on the IOVA. And if anybody was just, so patient to stick with it, you really got rewarded for it. So I wanted to go through that process just because, I don't expect just tomorrow we're going to get necessarily something like this. I mean, this is, pretty seldom, but you'll get variations of this, right? And we saw them last week. We were in the Wish last week, right? Which everything's going to seem small by comparison now. But we were in the Wish. We were in the Array, shorted the Array last week here. So I think moving forward, it's really going to be about, focusing and then not settling. So a little bit different, right, than from the last 3 weeks. Last 3 weeks, aggressive setups. There's a lot of them. Go for them. But now it's more like, we start from the very beginning in the pre-market, going through the gaps, and then we're kind of narrowing the focus from there. Okay, then what sets up, that's what we go after. Okay. So I think back to the way it was, kind of, as high quality as we can, and then not being too aggressive. Okay, just because earnings season's winding down. and so we got to kind of adjust accordingly. Okay. All right, that's going to do it for today's market wrap. Hope you did well. We will be back at it tomorrow, and I will talk to you then. Have a good evening.